Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and I want to discuss a preparedness related concept with you regarding training and why we aspire to achieve a certain level of it. Regarding SHTF events, there's generally only a couple of different outcomes, ones that you can potentially change and ones where you will have no influence over them at all. And I want to go over some examples of these particular events that have just occurred this previous month to give you some things to consider, especially regarding training and skill set and gear selection when it comes to dealing with some of these major situations. So let's dive right into it as soon as we have a word from our sponsor.
All right, everybody. You like ammo, I like ammo, and that's why this video sponsor is Ammo Squared. Now, at first I was hesitant about Ammo Squared. I thought having a bunch of ammo stockpiled in some off-site location I can't put my hands on isn't necessarily an idea I'm very comfortable with. I like to bathe in my ammunition from time to time. However, I started to think about Ammo Squared as more of a bank, where I deposit rounds for future use, and it gives me a lot of benefits I don't have from stockpiling ammo here at my home. So, what are those benefits? Well, first off, it allows you to stockpile ammo at a frequency and budget that you're comfortable with. You can set it to be quarterly, monthly, or whatever works best for you with whatever amount you want to put into your account. So you can buy ammunition fractionally. You don't have to buy entire boxes at a time. So if you're on a very tight budget, this allows you to allocate the funds you can afford towards ammunition and then request it to be shipped to you once you're ready for it. So that's a great benefit of Ammo Squared. Another benefit of Ammo Squared is having an off-site storage cache for your stockpile. This allows you to have additional ammunition that's somewhere else in case something bad happens at your current location. Perhaps you have to evacuate because of a natural disaster, and perhaps you lose your ammunition in the process. Now you still have some ammo stored away with Ammo Squared that you can have shipped to your new location at your convenience. So that's definitely a benefit as well, because we don't want to keep all our eggs in one basket. So use the link on my website, magicprepper.com, to check out Ammo Squared. There'll be links in the description as well as in the pinned comment to let them know that Magic Prepper sent you, because I greatly appreciate that support. And a big thanks to Ammo Squared for sponsoring this video. And now let's get back to it.
Big thanks to Ammo Squared for supporting the channel. Now, first off, we're going to discuss natural disaster events. These are events that we cannot change the outcome of. We can only react to them as they are occurring. And even the best laid bug out or contingency plans don't always work the way we would like them to in these situations. And we have examples of this just from this month, including the Kerr County, Texas flooding that happened on July 4th, where the Guadalupe River rose 1 foot every 5 minutes. That was a rapidly escalating situation where even the best evacuation routes might have suddenly been cut off or even completely wiped out. And in that situation, we had over 100 fatalities. So regardless of how well prepared you are, there's no chance that you could have changed the outcome there other than trying to react as quickly and swiftly to it as possible to get away from that situation. But nothing you personally could do would influence that scenario or change its course. And the same could be said about what we just saw with this 8.8 magnitude earthquake in the Kamchatka region of Russia that happened on July 29th. Tsunami warnings were issued for Hawaii, and evacuations were also issued, and people were being told to escape to high ground and wait for the all clear. And that's basically all that could be done. It didn't matter where you were or what you were doing. You had to drop everything, get to higher ground or get to a high-rise building, and then just wait for officials to come say, you're safe now and you can go back to what you were doing. And these situations occur all the time, and there's just nothing we can do about them, unfortunately, other than have some good plans in place, have some basic survival gear and ideas of what we'll do if these situations occur, and then hope that things work out for the best during the actual situation. However, there are some SHTF type events that you may be able to actually influence and that you could change the outcome of based on your personal skill level and equipment set and training. What am I referring to? Well, we just had a few different examples of lone shooter scenarios here in the US that I personally believe are going to become more frequent, as I've discussed in previous videos about the modern American battlefield, which I'll go ahead and link that up here on the screen. Maybe it's on this side, I don't know, but regardless, that's a great video to watch to kind of anticipate what to encounter here in the near future. Now, first off, we just had the lone shooter event in New York City on July 28th, where this active shooter walked up to a building carrying a rifle in broad daylight. They entered the Park Avenue Tower and made their way to the 33rd floor. And through that process, they killed 3 civilians and a law enforcement officer, and then themselves, and of course injured many others. Now, this situation obviously was very scary and tragic, but also could have been one of those SHTF type scenarios where you, as a prepared citizen, had the ability to possibly react to it and change the outcome based on your level of skill, training, and equipment selection. And that's just the reality of it. I can't do anything about a tsunami. I can't do anything about catastrophic flooding other than just react to those events to the best of my ability. But in these shooter situations, you have some decisions you can make beforehand regarding where you're willing to be or where you're willing to work, regarding how you're able to protect yourself in those environments. And then you also have the ability to have the training and skills and know-how to respond to them to possibly change the outcome. And what I mean by that is possibly save lives or possibly just stop one additional person from becoming a casualty, that being yourself. Now understand that in that scenario, we had images of employees barricading doors with office furniture and just waiting for NYPD to show up to be told that they were safe. However, as a prepared citizen, as someone who wants to be ready for these emergency events, you want to be able to take matters into your own hands if things occur that you have no control over in the interim of waiting for rescue. So, that situation is one where somebody with the right training, the right equipment, and the right knowledge could have changed the outcome. Even at the bare minimum, if you had first aid equipment on you and a level of medical training that gave you some confidence in using that equipment, it's possible that additional lives might have been saved. Maybe not in that particular situation, but in similar situations that might occur here in the future. These are all considerations to make. Self-defense, access to first aid, and the skills and knowledge of how to use that equipment could really make a difference in these situations, which might not change a lot of things about naturally occurring disasters in the sense of how it's going to turn out. The same can be said about what just happened in Reno, Nevada. This was another lone shooter situation where innocent civilians that had no connection to this person were tragically killed. And that's something that I really want to try to drive home here, is that these things are happening to random people. Not all of these events are targeted events where somebody goes after a specific target. Sometimes you're just minding your own business, you've never done anything wrong to anybody, and you still become a victim in these scenarios, which is why you should be properly preparing yourself to deal with them, because it's one of the few situations where you can personally change the outcome. In Reno, Nevada, on the same day, July 28th, this lone shooter was hiding behind a vehicle and ambushed their first victim, and then they started firing a handgun at a valet stand, and in the chaos of it all, 3 people were killed, and then this shooter was caught by police after a gunfight with them, and of course they sustained injuries, but at least to my knowledge have currently survived and are in custody. In that situation, you have a slight chance to change how it turns out. Maybe not with a natural disaster, but in these lone shooter scenarios, which are only seemingly becoming more frequent, you can actually change the outcome by being better prepared, better trained, having better skills and knowledge, and also having the appropriate equipment with you. Life-saving equipment like first aid and self-defense equipment, right? So, let's talk about one other particular event that's kind of in the middle to give you something to really consider, especially regarding prepared citizens and Minutemen and everything else related to being ready to go here in the United States of America, okay? A future changeable outcome for a disaster/SHTF type event would be related to war, okay? And right now, this global war is only getting worse, it seems, every single day. Some things have reached a level of resolution, but others have only gotten worse. For example, the Russia-Ukraine situation is, at least seemingly in my opinion, getting worse. And there's nothing we can do about it as a prepared citizen until there is. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, first off, just so you're aware, President Trump recently set an August 8th deadline for peace, or additional measures will be implemented to secure peace. I don't know what that means, but it does make it sound like things are escalating to a certain point of this has to end or it will get worse. And right now it's already pretty bad. But war has an unlikely changeable outcome for civilians. There's not much we can do about it. I can't stop the US from supplying weapons and ammunition, and I also can't stop Russia from bombing innocent civilians in Ukraine. There's nothing I can personally do about it until it gets to a certain point. And this is something else we prepare for that I know is more fringe and isn't necessarily as realistic, but it is a possibility. Just ask, I don't know, Ukrainians. But in general, these wars can't be affected by me until they reach a point of escalating to an actual invasion or some sort of total collapse grid down scenario caused by 5th generation warfare. And at that point in time, the training, the skills, the knowledge, and the equipment can change the outcome of that situation. So right now, war with these major superpowers is in the category of disasters. We can't change the outcome of that. Until they get into the category of active shooter, which then means we can technically change the outcome of that SHTF type scenario. And that's what I wanted to bring to your attention. Because in all reality, these are the things that we prepare for, even if they're unlikely. Because the big ones, where we store food and water, and we have evacuation routes, and we have bug out bags ready to go, and we know what we're gonna do in case of a natural disaster event, there's nothing we can do to prevent that from happening. There's nothing we can do to change the course of a tornado or change the course of a wildfire. But we can react to it as appropriately as possible when it occurs. But when it comes to these other events, these kinetic events with bad people doing villainous things, you could be the difference of how many casualties occur that day. You could be the difference of whether or not you survive it, whether or not your family survives it. But it's going to require some dedication to training, learning skills, having the right equipment, and the willingness to act in those scenarios. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because there is crossover between the two once we start talking on a larger scale. But for right now, here in this country, you should be striving to acquire all the things that I just said: skills, knowledge, training, equipment, so you can respond accordingly if these events happen. So I hope this was a good conceptual discussion for you, because I'm trying to make sure that we understand why emergency preparedness and training and being prepared as a citizen who could respond to an active emergency are important to have on both ends. And of course, when it comes to the grand scheme, greater scale of things regarding world war, we should be ready to potentially respond to that regardless of how unlikely it is. Anything else you need from me, magicprepper.com is a great place to go. You can get information there about networking. You can find out different things related to discounts and things of that nature. And you can also find my product, the MP Field Tool, which is currently for sale, and it is made in the USA, and I think you might enjoy it if you are somebody who uses a rifle regularly, and you'll find a lot of value there. Not to mention, if you have anything to say about this conversation, please leave it in the comments below, because I'm always willing to hear your feedback or just get some other ideas about some of your insight. And of course, if this video was helpful to you, make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you share it, because that's how we make sure more of this message gets out there. Anything else you need from me at all, you know what to do. And besides that, it's going to be it for Magic Prepper.